Hi, everyone, and welcome to the WP Minute. I'm Eric Karkovac. Today, I'm joined by Mary Job, a longtime leader in the WordPress community. Mary has helped build the Nigerian WordPress community and made multiple contributions to the project itself. She's also a community strategist, working with clients to create sustainable ecosystems. Mary, welcome to the WP Minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric, for having me here. I'm so excited to be on the WP Minute.
Yeah, thank you. You're someone I've been seeing online for a long time and always associated with WordPress. And I have to admit, I went back and read your Hero Press essay from, I think it was 2017.
Yes, it was way back.
And I loved your story because a lot of us in the WordPress space, we don't start out in technology necessarily. And I see that you studied philosophy in school, which is awesome. So how did you come to WordPress, and how do you think your studies maybe helped you along the way?
Okay, so this is interesting because usually there's this common saying back at home that when you find people studying philosophy, history, some arts-related subjects, it's usually because they were given that subject. So like in our part, when you're going to the university, you have to pick like your first and your second choice, right? And growing up, I always wanted biz administration, and then I had to ask myself at a point, like, what exactly is business administration? I suck at math. So why am I even trying to do business administration? So I was like, no. So I took the brochure and I was like, let me see where I fit in. Right. And I read all of the subjects there that you could study in university because it's like a universal brochure for Nigeria. And I found philosophy and I was like, oh, wow, this sounds exactly like who I am. This is me. And I remember telling my dad, like, I'm not doing business admin again. I'm doing philosophy. And my dad was like, are you sure? He asked me like multiple times, like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm very, very sure. I want to study philosophy. So that's how I got into philosophy.
Well, that's great. I can relate to that as a father.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to do that one? But I mean, it's something obviously you have a passion for it. How has that helped you in community building? Do you feel like it's given you a different perspective on it maybe than somebody else might have?
Yes, like I said, just knowing what the cross stood for, I could totally connect to it. I could like, yes, this is so me. So it, for me, it wasn't like I was given the cross. I chose the cross, and I chose it because it reflects who I am as a person and who I am today. Like it's literally like the foundation of my life, and everything that I've been doing. So it sort of followed me all the way, even today. And I mean, philosophy is the foundation of all disciplines. So yes, it's followed me all the way, and up till today into what I do is, the principles, everything about it just flows into being human, being a part of a community, and stuff like that.
Well, I think that's nice because in technology we tend not to we tend to dehumanize each other sometimes in technology. And I think philosophy might actually be, we probably need more philosophers in tech. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah. No, I agree because when you look at the ethical bit, the ethical angle, that's actually like we need, and that's what I'm exploring these days. Like we seem to have forgotten that at the bottom of who we serve is people, whether you're a business owner or you're a community person or whatever you do, people are at the center of it, and we seem to be forgetting that. Right. So
Yes,
I think we need a reminder, and coming from that field, it helps me to remind myself like people are at the bottom of everything you're doing. You're here for people. I mean, what's life without making an impact on people? I don't know what kind of life that would be if you haven't impacted anybody in any small way. It doesn't have to be big.
exactly. Even, I mean, there's a lot of pursuit of money and things like that, but really, if you're not impacting people, then what good is it if
There's
you can't
nothing
make
wrong with the
someone's life
pursuit of
better?
yeah, there's nothing wrong with the pursuit of money, but who's gonna pay you that money? People, right?
That's a great point.
People, not systems. Not, I mean, people, humans are still going to pay that money. So,
Well, I want to get into a little bit of to your background in helping put together the Nigerian WordPress community. How did you get involved with that? And it sounded like you were pretty important role in getting that, like the meetup in Lagos, I believe it was that you done.
yes,
And how did you get involved with WordPress in Nigeria and spread the word about it?
that's also a very funny story. I'll tell it to you very briefly. So, I like I said, my background, I like writing, right? I like writing a lot, right? I still have my Blogspot account up. I mean, I didn't delete it
Wow.
out of sentiment because but when I look at my writings in the past, I'm like, wow, I wrote that. No, I really should. I mean, I'm better, of course. So, that love for writing made me look for a software to write on, right? And there was Up Pages. I still have the account there too. There was Blogger. And then there was WordPress. And I remember first opening WordPress in 2012 and I was like, what is this? I just want to write. And then I closed it back. Then in 2015, I was doing my master's internship in Ghana. My uncle was like, have you checked out WordPress? I'm like, really? WordPress, really? I was like, yeah. And then he gave me some videos to watch. It was made by Martin Rand Hendrickson in Canada. I don't know if I
Yes.
pronounced his name well. Yeah. I spent the next 24 to 48 hours watching all of those, and I was like, wow, this is so massive. This is so good. This is so cool. I was so mesmerized at the software. And I think at that point, I became like a WordPress addict because I fell in love totally with WordPress at that point. And then coming back to Nigeria after my program, you know, I then thought, oh, wait, there has to be a community because then I started building sites, buying domains. I didn't know what all of those were, because I wasn't playing in that field. And I remember asking myself, like, there has to be like, I found myself on make.wordpress.org. I always say, like, I didn't just stumble, like, I deliberately seeked out a community, which is interesting in my case. I deliberately seeked out a community and I found, I was like, there has to be a community somewhere. Like, who can I ask questions? I don't even know what I'm doing. What am I even doing? I don't even know what hosting is. All of those questions drove me to seek the community and then find that there was a community in Lagos. I was like, oh, there's a community in Lagos. At that time, I was living in Ijebu, which is an hour drive to Lagos. And I was like, I reached out to the community in Lagos, the organizer, like, what's happened? You haven't had a meetup. Like, is there going to be a meetup soon? I want to join. I want to meet other people who are using this amazing software. And that's how the story started. And he said, you know what, maybe if you want to host an event, and we became friends up till today. He actually supported a lot, but was always in the background. We both co-founded a hosting company because that's his passion. I'm like the operations, he's like the development, but he was always in the background supporting every meetup that we did. But what happened was, when I started to host meetups, I found myself having to learn WordPress deeply. I just wanted to go meet other people. But other people would come expecting you to know about the software.
Yes, they
That's,
do.
yeah, they come expecting you to know. So I found myself studying overnight what is SEO exactly, what a plug is, what are themes, how can you build a custom. I had to start learning all of those things so that I could answer people when they ask me, and where I don't know, I just defer to like my friend, like, boss, oh yeah, come and answer. This is for you, But that's what drove me into the community, and well, the rest is history.
That's a great way to learn, isn't it? When other people are depending on you for that information.
Yes,
It's a great way to force yourself to sit there and
I was put
learn
on
it.
the spot because I had to prepare. Even when I wasn't presenting and somebody else was presenting, I had to go learn about what they were presenting so that I could also contribute.
Well, now these days, I know you're doing some consulting work, right? So you're working with different organizations trying to build sustainable communities.
Yes.
How's that gone for you? What have you been doing with that so far?
So that's also interesting. I mean, every bit of every at every is it junction of my life is interesting. So that's interesting because I currently still work for paid memberships pro. I mean, we have the best membership software anyway out
I
there
know it.
because I know I've tried others, right? So I still work full time with paid memberships pro. I've dabbled my hands in a bit of different things, you know. So volunteering for me is a passion, right? And you know the saying about do like the saying that when you do a job that you love, it doesn't feel like you're working, something like that, right? So working with WordPress every day for me doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm having fun every day because I'm discovering something new, both at work and outside of work, right? Um, so I've never treated that bit of me as a business, right? For me, it's always been like, oh yes, you know, we're organizing this, we're meeting people, we're networking, we're talking about WordPress, we're solving WordPress problems. That was all fun. Until last year, I started with thinking like, okay, so I've done this for years. I've done this for so many years. I have a depth of knowledge in my head somewhere. You know, what could I mean, this is also work that I love. So what could I do? How could I put this forward in such a way that it sustains me, so to say. It sustains me, and you know, it still doesn't feel like work because now I'm doing something that I love as a business. So that's what better the
Sure.
community building and consulting work, helping businesses of individuals, founders, anybody volunteering into how to build sustainable communities because trust me, we failed over the years. Like the Lagos WordPress meetup, we're not so active, you know, and every day I keep trying to think, how can we put together a system that would work, you know, that wouldn't be a burden on one person? Because at one point, I also took a break from the WordPress community for like, I think 3 years. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a program deputy and I took it because I was really, you know, like drowning and you know, with a lot of stuff. So that better what I do now, trying to like, okay, let me put this wealth of knowledge and experience into something useful for businesses, individuals, because at the end of the day, like I said, people are still at the heart of everything that we do. Community is still at the heart of everything that we do, right? You're not selling to robots, you're selling to humans, to people, to community. So that's what got me
Yeah.
here.
Well, I know like we've talked about burnout in the WordPress community before with people, especially with event organizing and different volunteer roles like that. So I could understand why you know, I've seen all the things that you've accomplished on your WordPress.org profile. You've done core committing and translations and all these different things. I can imagine that would be very tiring after a while. You would need a break.
Yes, yes, yes. I did need a break. I needed a break and then I struggled to get back into that frame of mind because I wanted to get back into that frame of mind so bad. But you know, uh, when life happens. You have family, you have this, you have that, you have. So for me, it was a struggle getting back in, and I'm so excited because now I'm finding my feet in, just as I wanted, and I'm excited about doing this all over again. Now I have a lot of energy. Of course. Now I know better. Now I know how to, which is what I'm essentially consulting for. Now I know how to build that community without burnout. How to build it. Yeah, how to build strategies for that community or for any community work that I'm doing without burning out myself.
That's a very important thing. Because I imagine in the WordPress community and any open source community that, you know, there are certain people who take so much responsibility on. And if you have that experience and wisdom to say, this is how you take a step back. This is how you build something that will sustain over many years, even after you're gone. That's so much healthier than having a handful of people that just try to do everything themselves, right?
Yeah, and it's not always the fault of people who try to do everything themselves. It's just everything falls on you, and you have no
Yes.
choice but to step up. I think I have a bad habit of always wanting to step up. So my daughter's school, we started a parent association, right? I was a secretary last quarter, and in this year, because the vice president and the president were leaving, they pushed me up to the president, like, Mary, you're next in line. Just be the president of the parent association. I'm like, I'm not built for this, you know. But I mean, it's building community, which is what I love. So I was like, okay, great. But I also have to consciously not step up all the time. So like we sell cookies every Friday to try to raise money. And I have this at the back of my mind that if somebody doesn't show up or somebody doesn't volunteer, I have to step up, you know. And we used to do it in the mornings and evenings. I was like, no, I'm committing to just afternoons. Now I can choose. I can build intentionally without stressing everybody out. When you lead a community, you have to also be very empathetic because not everybody can give the same amount of time. So
Sure.
you have to keep that at the back of your mind. So it's not always deliberate that people want to take on all the responsibilities. It's just knowing what you can commit to, what you can't commit to, and knowing when to say no and when to pull out and when, you know, it's just like I said, experience is the best teacher, and it has taught me how to best position myself to know what I can take on, what I wouldn't take on. And yeah.
Well, that's so much better for your mental health, I can imagine.
Oh, yes, it is.
Companies, you know, we talked about you're selling to people, you're not selling to machines or systems.
Yes.
And if you're a company in the WordPress space, you're a plugin developer, you're a hosting company, how important is it to give back and find ways to give back? You know, what would you recommend to like a WordPress developer came to you and said they wanted to find a way to do something within the community? How would you advise them on that?
So first of all, let me approach this from this angle, right? Once upon a time, businesses didn't care to inform people about their products because, I mean, everybody just bought their products, you know, and that's what bettered businesses needing websites and then needing blogs on their website so that they could inform their customers, right? And we went into an era where consumers also were deliberate about where they were spending their money, right? So they don't just want to give their money to like any business or whatnot. It's the same thing. I think I would say businesses today need to be intentional about where their website is built. I know businesses don't want to bother. I mean, I just want a website. I don't really care where the website lives. Just spin me up a website. And this is what I told my customers when I did web designing a lot. I used to tell them, like, think of your domain name and your hosting and all of that. Because my customers are like, Mary, why are you bothering me with all of this data? I'm like, I need you to know where your host is, where your domain is. You know, I don't even buy them with my account. I make sure the customer buys them with their email. I mean, when you create a free Gmail, you know this is a Google product because it has Google all over it. So I feel like businesses need to treat that part of their website as they need to be intentional. No, oh, this is where my domain is at. This is where my hosting is at. Right. This is what my website is built on. Now, I'm not saying businesses should start going into the technical details of what is a WordPress website. Just know that my website is built on WordPress is an open source software. Once business owners can do that, then they can then think, you know, if this is open source software, it means it's free, right? How can I give back to this community? Because this community is filled with like a wealth of information. The people is filled with so many people, you know, there's literally no aspects of your business that you would not find information or some helpful resource about in the WordPress ecosystem. So that should drive, like, if I'm a business owner, my website is built on WordPress, I'm thinking like, okay, is there a local WordPress community in my area? What can I do, you know, to contribute to that open source software that's powering my website, right? And it's literally educational, right? But I think if businesses can be intentional about knowing where their website is built, they can also then think of ways to give back to the WordPress community. It could be in the form of anything. There's no such thing as a small contribution, right? But that's a starting point for business owners or for a plugin developer, you know. We find that there's a local WordPress community almost everywhere, you know.
There
And
is.
if you feel like, oh, I don't have one, let me give you an example. So I currently live in Durrës in Albania, right? I moved from Nigeria in 2024, right? And when I got here, there was no WordPress community, right? And there was one in Tirana, which is the capital, and the owner isn't the host isn't doing meetups, hasn't done any since I came because he's also taking a break, which is great. But I've been here a year and a half, and I thought there has to be a community. So I mean, it's a lot of work between the community, but I opted to start one, not because I had all the time and the resources to do that, but do you know what happened at the first meetup we had? Everybody who came, we had about 7 people show up. 2 people came and then left because they had something to get to. But they all said something that they said. I just saw on the dashboard Duress meetup, and I was perplexed. Like, what is a meetup? You mean in Duress, in my city? Because they were all locals who came, and maybe like 3 of us were foreigners. But it was interesting to see how enthusiastic they were. Like, what do you mean? There's something called a WordPress meetup or a WordCamp? I've never heard of that. You know, the restaurant that I chose, the owner, the person who manages the studio reached out and said, like, I was perplexed, like, what we've been doing WordPress for 10 years, right? And we had no idea about any of this. So you can imagine how interesting that, and they were so willing to offer their space. They had a table laid out for us. That's how businesses can show up intentionally. I just scheduled a meetup because I like that restaurant and they have great Turkish coffee, right? I didn't think that somebody from that restaurant would reach out to me and say, no, I checked that the website was built on WordPress. They were being intentional about reaching out. It's not hard. I mean, it's not simple, it's not easy, but businesses need to be intentional about this things. You need to, don't wait until the community finds you. Find the community. It's open source software. Find it. Give back to it. No matter how little.
Well, I think that's an important point because we often think about contribution and my mind immediately goes to code. I'm not the world's greatest developer. You probably don't want me writing, anything that would go into WordPress core. You would not want it to be written by me. But there are so many other ways to give back, just like the restaurant. Yes. Just giving a space for people to meet. It's just so it's a very nice gesture. It's small, and yet it makes a big difference.
Water, and they give us that Turkish coffee, and it was on the house. That was great. They see that, oh no, they understand that the website is built on an open source software, and they were so eager to give back. So I feel like if every business owner could do that, who has a website built on WordPress, the ecosystem will become so much larger. There's space for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, no matter how small the contribution, it all makes a difference.
Yes.
Even if you don't have a local community, you can go into the support forums and help answer questions if that's something you're good at. You can write a tutorial if that's something you're good at. That's something I've done. I don't have a ton of contributions that are official, but I've tried to help spread the word about different things that I've learned. I just think that's important. We have to look at these communities. I mean, I know you're working with other companies too. Have you worked with other open source communities beyond WordPress yet?
Not very much. I have a friend who is very enthusiastic about Joomla. She's always trying to get me to like, Joomla is, the new version. It's so cool. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. It's just, I have my mind set on WordPress. I mean, it's a love relationship. Yeah, but I did some work back with TechSoup and Creative Commons. Yes. I think at the point I've run a community for that in Ijebu, my town in Nigeria. So I did that in the past. Yes. And then with the Catholic Salesian community also in the past. Presently, no, no other open source communities. Because like I said, I'm just getting my feet back into contribution. I'm getting my feet back into that. So I don't want to rush it because I don't want to take on more than I can do. Right. So I'm taking it slowly.
That's a very wise strategy.
Yeah.
It's easy to get overwhelmed when you start doing that stuff, especially at a volunteer level where you're out there helping everybody, but at the same time, you need to look after yourself.
Absolutely. I agree. You have to.
So if you're looking at the WordPress community now, What do you think we do well as a community, and what do you think we can improve on?
Hmm.
I know that's a
We
tough question.
Yeah, we do a lot of things well. We do a lot of. I think I read a post about Contributor Day somewhere where somebody talked about their experience at Contribution Day and how they're seeing a pattern, and they think this is what can be improved on. That post was interesting. But I don't know if it was published recently. I don't remember who. Uh, um, but then I was also thinking like we are doing a lot already in the WordPress community because it's not easy to get people together for one shared purpose, right? Right. So that's already a lot. But I would say what we could do better, what we could do better. So I wouldn't say we're not doing enough, but because we're doing a lot, right? But what I would say we could do better would be two marketing efforts educating business owners, right? Because if we have business owners who are intentional about where their site is built, if we have those group of people also giving back to the ecosystem, it would help also grow the trajectory will go like a bit higher than it already is. Because I think by now we should not be doing like 40%. We've been stuck at 40% for a while. I don't know if you
Yeah.
noticed. We've been stuck at 40%. So balanced, but we need to go up because so we need to do more, and then we need to reach out to the next generation because the next generation and business owners, because the attention span for the next generation. So my daughter told me recently, and I told her like, I saw you opened the Weebly site, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah, they give her a school homework. She has a WordPress blog. She has a WordPress website, and they give her a WordPress. Sorry, they give them an homework to create a website, and she had told me about it. Of course, she knows I'm going to tell her to do it on WordPress, you know. But she didn't say anything about it again. So later, when I checked up on the assignment, I was like, "You submitted a Weebly." She's like, "It was so easy and straightforward." I'm like, "What do you mean?" What do you mean? Are you saying that WordPress is like, no, that was just drag and drop. But on a more serious note, I feel like we are leaving that generation behind. We need to bring them in one way or the other, right? We need to bring, I'm not saying bring them in by force, but I'm saying we need to let them see what is possible, right? What is achievable within the ecosystem, and then let them make their decision. I'm pretty positive that, if we had some efforts how to reach that targeted that generation and those business owners, I feel like would be able to convince them to see the value and the benefit that can be gotten from the WordPress ecosystem.
Well, I know recently there have been some efforts at universities. There is a WordPress credits
Yes.
program. I actually, one of the episodes hasn't come out yet. Well, while we're speaking, it'll be coming out soon, um, about how university in Pisa, Italy, is actually teaching WordPress and giving students credit for that learning time, and they're learning how to contribute to open source. I think if we can grow that, because we don't have where I am in the United States, the WordCamps have really gone away. We only have WordCamp US now and a couple of small events. And so we don't have these big get-togethers anymore where we can kind of show everybody WordPress. So I think if we can get people at the university levels and even at the high school levels, that's where we're going to get, more people to come in and contribute to the community. Because as you said, that's
I
very
totally
important.
agree. I totally agree with you. And like you said, contribution is not just about code. The one area that I think is often overlooked is the polyglots. The polyglots, it's a big deal because it's languages, it's different people's languages. I imagine being able to navigate WordPress in my local language. Not that I can read it very well, but I mean, that would be so cool, right? And then our parents could actually like navigate, and then people who can speak the language can like navigate that. That would be so cool. So I think that's also one angle where it's underrated, and it's also a great way to get, that generation to actually like take part, in contributing to WordPress.
That's a good point. Yeah, I know. WordPress is very global. It's in every corner of the world, and many languages are spoken. And if we can get the software into as many languages as possible, we're going to, that's going to lead to more growth in areas where it maybe isn't the number one choice.
Mhm. I agree with you. I agree with you totally.
Well, Mary, I thank you for being on. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about what you're doing with your consulting work, or even your contributions to WordPress?
Well, not at this time, because I'm actually working on a program which I'm supposed to try and pre-record. So I'm trying to work on a program where it's literally saying it's totally okay to be a volunteer, but I think it's a bit unfair when you put all your passion and all your time and all your expertise and skills into that and it doesn't pay you, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody needs to get paid, right? So it is possible for us to get to be creative about that, to build sustainability, to volunteer sustainability in such a way that it also sustains us. So I'm building a program around that, which is what I've been working on, and I'm trying to record like a 8-week a program around that so that it's reusable content and it's useful for anyone who's in the volunteering space, whether it's with a business, NGO, building communities, anywhere you're building community. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about people.
Well, that's great. I think contribution and getting paid for contribution, especially with some of the hard work that gets put in, that's a big deal. A
Yes,
lot
it
of people
is.
simply can't afford to give away all of their time, and so
Yes, it is.
getting some sort of compensation system, I think, would be wonderful and help
Yeah,
a lot of
without
people.
losing the focus on why you're giving back. You could give back. You could give to people without losing. You could still do what you love to do, which is giving back, volunteering, but also creative ways to get paid sustainably. I think that bit is important and often overlooked because we think that if you're giving back, you shouldn't get any payment at all whatsoever. But like I said, at the end of the day, we're human beings, right? We have families, we have things we're doing outside of that work, right? I mean, if you're hungry, how do you feed somebody else? You can't.
That's a great point. I think it's something that I know the WordPress community has debated for a long time. So I'm interested to see what your program is. Where can people connect with you online?
My website, maryjob.com.
All right. Well,
Yes. No, I was just going to say on my website and on Twitter once in a while. I don't hang out on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I don't hang out on Twitter.
I don't want to
all
call
the
it X.
But yes, but on my website, anyone can reach me anytime on my website at any time. I respond to mails faster than actually social media.
I do the same thing. Well, I will put the link to your website in the show notes for sure. And I'll also put a link to your HeroPress essay because it is wonderful. And I think your story is so inspiring how going from philosophy to WordPress, I think is just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for being part of the show. And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening here. And please visit us over at thewpminute.com/subscribe. You can get our newsletter, keep up to date with everything we're doing, and you can also become a member, join our Slack community for free. Thanks, and we'll see you again next time.